welcome to the Friday Fraudster podcast. Join them as they discuss sad, funny, and sometimes disturbing fraud stories. Be sure to catch past episodes on your favorite podcasting platform or go to www.fridayfraudster.com and grab some CPE while you're there.
Well, hello everyone and welcome to episode number 114.
114, that's impressive.
100. You know what's probably the longest commitment I've ever had in my life?
Wow.
You know what? If this auditing thing fails, I'm going into comedy.
I hope you're alone right now, because otherwise, you're gonna have a fun conversation after this.
Well, we all know that was just a joke. that was just a joke. I actually worked at one job for about almost 10 years. So, you know, yeah, man. Yeah. Now that was a long commitment. Hey, we've got Stephanie here. Stephanie says, I look forward to each Friday. It's like listening to a show on the world's dumbest criminals and the employers that enable them through bad or lack of policies. Wait, let me make sure that was Stephanie. Let me cheat and take a look. Yep, that was our friend.
That is a great summary. Totally great summary.
Yep.
It really is. It is.
Yeah.
Hey, Wilson, what's going on, my man? See, Wilson is a doctor in the Houston area. So if you guys are suffering from, never mind. You see, I went right into the commercial voice, right? You know what, Thomas, let me ask you guys a question. You know, I always start off with a silly question for everyone, but do you guys remember when there was once a time when you couldn't just pick up the phone or pick up your phone and dial food and have it delivered to you?
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm not going to reveal my age, so no, I don't.
Well, look, I think the gray hair reveals mine.
What are you talking about? Tell us, Rob.
Well, you know, back in the day, Galena, for you youngsters like Galena, back in the day, the only food you could have delivered to your house was pizza. You guys remember that? The pizza restaurants were the only places that delivered back in the day. And I'm old enough to remember Domino's Pizza. They had where it was 30 minutes or less, or it was free.
Yep.
Yeah. And so you saw delivery drivers speeding on throughout the city. And I can't confirm or deny if I have some friends that maybe gave the wrong address sometimes.
I remember, I think it was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, like one of the first movies in the 90s with the Ninja Turtles. And the guy shows up with the pizza and they hand him like a tip. And he's like, hey, what about the rest? He's like, you're 5 minutes late, dude. He's like, oh, come on, man. You're in the sewers. The Noid.
I remember the Noid. Whoa.
Awesome.
Does anyone else remember the Noid? And now, since Bob has mentioned it, I wouldn't be a good show host if I didn't just pull it up so that everyone can know exactly what we're talking about. It is always fun doing a live show. So there's the Noid. Oh, that picture's probably not big enough. The Noid was with the pizza crusher. Yeah.
You know, the Noid was great until he got annoying. Like I think they ran with him a little bit too long with that mascot. But no, I remember him coming on, especially as a kid, and really getting a kick out of it. I say as a kid, I don't remember when that was. So long ago.
So apparently it was created by Domino's Pizza in the 80s. And they revived it in 2021. I don't remember the revision. I don't remember him coming back. But the slogan was avoid the Noid.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was a kid. So I said that one correctly.
I'm just, yeah.
Oh, somebody else remembers it. I think this is Stephanie. Let's take a look. Let me take a look at my little cheat sheet again. Yep. Stephanie says avoid the Noid. And then Heather says, I think they're trying to bring the Noid back again. Heather, yeah, they brought him back in 2021. I don't think I've seen him come back. Hey, and Clarence is here, my man. Clarence, how you doing, man? Long time no see. It's always good to see you here, man. You know that. So yeah, back in the day, pizza was the only thing you could have delivered to your house. Nowadays, you can even have toilet paper delivered. What's up with that?
If you're willing to pay a fee, you can get anything delivered as long as you're willing to pay enough.
Yeah, yeah. So when's the last time you all used Uber Eats or the equivalent?
I want to say it was last year for me.
Oh,
Was it last year? It's been a while. Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah,
My teenager is partial to the other company, so I'm not really like, but I mean, it's kind of like one and the same, I guess, a little bit.
so in my family, we are very against paying all the different fees when it comes to like delivery and some of that. So we get off our lazy butts and go over and pick stuff up. So we'll call in an order and go pick it up different places. But I think I've used Uber Eats like once, maybe twice, and that's it. It's the principle of the matter, I guess. Of course, where I live, everything's like a 10-minute drive anyway,
Yeah.
so it's not like it's a big drive to go anywhere.
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
Now,
Yeah,
Stephanie says
for
she's
me,
never
it was
used
very
Uber Eats.
convenient. Oh, okay.
Never.
That's gonna be a good story for her.
Sorry, go ahead, Galena. It's convenient for you?
No, sometimes, so like for me, when I used it last year, it was very convenient because we stayed at a hotel and we did not rent a car. And so instead of like, walking everywhere, which is really, really far, you would just get Uber Eats really, delivered to the hotel because the hotel didn't have very good restaurant. And, the amount that you would spend on Uber driving to hotels would pretty much offset those additional costs. But it was, that was convenient. Very, very convenient.
That makes
Gotcha.
sense.
Now, Jules said he used Uber Eats last night.
I like it. Great.
And Stephanie says fast food is expensive enough. Yes, it is. You know what, though? So I used Uber Eats probably about a month ago, and they had some sort of special where it was buy one, get one free. And here's the funny part about it. The place that I got delivered from, it was right up the street. I could have driven there. However, I wouldn't have gotten the buy one, get one free meal. So it actually worked out to be cheaper to get the buy one, get one free.
Yeah.
Oh,
And the delivery fee was 50 cents. So,
wow. Yeah. So that marketing worked. Yeah, really good economics.
yeah.
Did you eat both? Hopefully not.
I can't confirm or deny, but you know what? Okay. So here's the deal. The plan was to eat one for lunch and then one for dinner.
You didn't have anything left for dinner, did you?
No, I didn't. Now, Christine, who you all have seen co-hosting before too, she says, we've used another delivery service a few times during COVID. We no longer order as they increase the price of the food in addition to the delivery fee and the tip.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No,
Ooh,
a little
now
bit off topic, but one that I've been seeing, there's one restaurant here in my area that we're no longer going to because they've started adding a convenience fee, even if you go in and sit down at the table and eat there. And I'm like, no. So yeah, I'm not going to name them, but yeah, so you have to watch that kind of thing on receipts now too.
Well, whose convenience was it?
Right. And that's why we're not going there anymore.
Very, very interesting. Did you ask the manager about it? Like out of curiosity, like, hey, what is this?
I didn't catch it until I was walking out.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, there are a lot of interesting things happening now. I've noticed some restaurants will actually automatically add the tip in. And, that's been customary for parties above a certain size. But there are some that are doing it now, regardless of the size of your party.
Yeah.
Oh, we need to audit them because I believe that's against the law.
Is it?
In Houston? At least in Houston, I believe so. You can't you cannot mandate the customer to pay. Right? Does that make sense? Like you have to add the language that it's it's a customary to, if you have a good service, it's a customary to add a certain percentage, but it's up to your discretion, da 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 da. But if they automatically add it, then
what they're probably doing is they're automatically adding it in, and you have to ask for it to be changed. And so, and that way it gets them where they're technically under the law, but are you really going to look at a waiter and say, hey, I know this says $5 for you, but I really want to get $3? A lot of times you just accept it and move on. That's what they're doing.
Those tricksters.
Yes, and they make
yes
the tip based on the post-tax amount.
For sure. Yeah.
Very interesting. So these are some things that people are doing in order to squeeze a little bit more money out of us.
Yeah.
So today, let's talk about some gentlemen that we might want to call entrepreneurs.
They were.
So here's the thing too. I didn't understand how the Uber Eats works on the back end. So let's start off by explaining to everyone how Uber Eats works, because I'm pretty sure most people were like me and didn't understand how it works. When you place an order with Uber Eats, in order for the drivers to pick up the food, Uber gives them a sort of like a prepaid card to use to pay for the order with. Now, I didn't know that. I thought our cards were just charged and that was it by the establishment. But apparently,
now, is that for all Uber Eats, or is that just for like groceries though?
That's the thing I couldn't figure out from the article. I think it may just be for groceries through Uber Eats. But yeah, so they get a prepaid amount that they can spend, and they go into the grocery store and they buy the groceries. Thank you, Thomas. That's a very good point. They buy the groceries with that prepaid card, and then they charge you for whatever they purchase, whatever they're able to purchase. I still was unaware that that's how that worked, but that makes sense, right? Because they may not be able to pick up everything you need.
Pre-authorized credit, right? So they call it pre-authorized credit in several $100s, but that, the amount is, you don't know whether it's just for that one purchase or they give it to them for 24 hours or, how often that recycles or, keeps open, so to speak. But yeah, so, they provide them with pre-authorized credit of up to $700 per purchase.
Yeah. That was the research that I saw, said that they get between $500 and $700 per purchase in order to use, regardless of the person's potential.
I don't think that was for the drivers, because the people, well, they were the drivers, but the culprits in the story were employees, actual employees
from Uber Eats.
Yes, they worked for Uber, right? That division.
Right. So, with that in mind, here's what our guys did this week, my friends. He set up a customer account and placed an order. Several orders. We'll get into that, though. But in theory, this is how one of the frauds was committed, and we'll talk about all of them. Same way. He was the customer. He placed an order. He was also the driver. He accepted the order. So as soon as he accepted the order, he got that $500 to $700 credit to use. He then canceled the order and then went into Walgreens and purchased gift cards with the credit that he had established based on the order that had now been canceled.
Okay, that's smooth. That's that is creative.
Whenever you sent this article to me, I was like, hold up, what? I actually had to do a little research and like read it a couple of times to really understand like how they got away with this, like how they were able to do that. That was really creative of how they did that. But it's also surprising that Uber would put money onto a card like that, which I understand what they're doing there, but then not have a way to pull it back, right? Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So
that's
All right. So Stephanie says, So we're gonna And I'm sure Stephanie's probably joking, but for anybody else who may be thinking, we're going to go through it one more time. So let's say I, Robert, am an Uber Eats customer.
Employee.
I'm an employee, and I also pretend to be a customer, and I place an order. When that order is placed, I am also the employee. And as the employee, I get a $500 credit within which to purchase items for this customer, who's also me, from the grocery store. I then go in as the customer and I cancel the order for the customer. And now as the employee, I still have this $500 credit that I should no longer use because the order has been canceled, but I use it to buy gift cards since I'm in the grocery store. Now they did this at Walgreens or CVS, one of the two drugstores. Yeah. I forgot which one now.
It was Walgreens.
It was Walgreens. Okay. They did it at several Walgreens. They actually listed how many they went to in the article. But
it was the one day that they were looking at it. It was 27 Walgreens in one day, and they made, I think it was $5,000 total in that one day, going to 27. Now I don't know about you, but if I have a couple of guys that are willing to go to 27 different Walgreens in one day to do this, they need to start their own business doing something, because they clearly have a very good work ethic when it comes to something like that.
Absolutely, Thomas, you nailed it. The drive was incredible, right? The actual drive, but then also the drive, you know. Can you do
what, Bob? I wish I could. I wish I could channel my inner John Madden. I would say, boom, he's on his back. Oh boy. Oh geez. Oh. Stephanie said, no wonder Walgreens declared bankruptcy.
Terrible.
Yeah, that's that.
Oh yes. Boy. Now, who is that? We have a new friend here. Joseph. Joseph says, what a creative fraudster. Yes, Joseph. I mean, extremely creative, man. So okay. So now, this is what they did. And Thomas just hit it on the head. In one day, they went to 27 different Walgreens for a total of $5,000. Now, the entire fraud altogether, they're saying, was over $1 million. I think maybe we're still working on the exact amount, but the total fraud as of right now, as of today, is over $1 million.
Wow.
Yeah, they were just arrested in the middle of last month, and this started around January of 2022, I think I saw. So they've been going for what, about 20 months?
Year and a half.
Year and a half.
Yeah, year and a half.
Yeah.
Year and a half, $1 million. That's a lot. That's a lot of gift cards.
So now.
Go ahead. I was going to get into like, okay, so where do you think the loopholes were? Was it on the IT side, on IT general controls, on the application, on the data entry side, on where? Okay.
So now that's a good point, because here's the thing. In order to keep the fraud going, he created several fake accounts. So he would use the stolen or fabricated identities of Uber drivers using their driver's license information. Unfortunately, he would alter it with his picture. So he had a bunch of different identities out there with his picture on there. So I think at some point he was able to dupe them because these were different identities. And if Uber found out that one was fraudulent, he had several others out there.
I really think it comes down to that prepaid card. I understand doing the prepaid card part, but it should be an automated system where it's got to be already automated to issue the card, right? Or issue the cash to the card. So it should be an automated process of either pulling the funds back or canceling the card, however it goes. But I think that's their point, because anybody can set up multiple fake accounts. And I mean, I think that's very hard to prevent. Yes, you should also have controls for that, but if they would have just controlled the cash, I think that would have been, it would have worked. Ooh, Bob makes a good point. Pull that one up there.
Yeah. There wasn't a block on the card for the business type. Yeah.
Yep. Well,
and
business side, but
Marsha
also
makes a
what you
good
can
point
buy
too,
with it,
though.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, Marsha makes a good point. You can't purchase gift cards with a prepaid card. Walmart don't allow that. Well, apparently CVS did.
Walgreens.
I mean Walgreens. Sorry, Walgreens. I keep saying CVS. CVS is just on my brain.
Well, not to completely throw you off track here, but Walgreens was in the news the last day or two for something else. Have y'all heard about it with Theranos?
No, wait. What happened?
Oh,
Yeah.
what?
So the customers of Walgreens had a class action lawsuit against Walgreens because of all of the stuff with Theranos, and so $44 million class action lawsuit was just settled. So that's another
Oh,
44
wow.
million out the
Oh.
window for Walgreens.
Amazing.
Yep.
Amazing. But to your point, Thomas, and to your question, Galena, let's talk about controls that could have prevented and or detected this. As soon as the order was canceled, the individual prepaid card associated with that order should have been canceled as well.
Yeah.
And that can be automated.
Right. Yeah. So do you think in this case, it's almost like, there wasn't a much thought process involved in what could go wrong? Because what I'm seeing in organizations, it's pretty much always a catch up, right? Like you're thinking of a scheme, right? You and I are sitting here thinking of a scheme, and then we're just still going to be behind. I remember when I used to work for a hospitality industry, that was literally pretty much the case, because I mean the schemes were popping up left and right, and they were so creative. So creative. So for me or for us, to stay on top of that is just, it was wild, because you don't think like a criminal. You kind of have to in this role a little bit, but you just you just can't.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
Nah,
guessing someone looked at it and said, hey, we're putting a cap on how much money can go to these prepaid cards. So therefore, our exposure is low. And so it was an acceptable risk level. They weren't anticipating, or someone, when they were doing their risk assessment, they didn't look at it and say, what's the possibility of other fraud, i.e. all these fake accounts, duplicate or compounding the issue of multiple cards getting issued like that. I bet they only did the math on if one person tried to do this scam for an extended period of time.
Right. Yeah, so multiple accounts under the same individual, that probably wasn't. What do you guys think about, the red flag? Another red flag that could have been is, when the transaction gets, not the transaction, but when the transaction gets canceled, when the customer cancels the transaction, then there shouldn't be another purchase? Or should there be? Would you run some kind of like automated, Chikawado is right. When the customer cancels, then there should not be, maybe they change their mind, right? And so I guess the alternative would be, we just need to reorder something else. I don't know. Like that's a
probably one of those that you can only, if you cancel cancel more than one order or something like that, if there's some type of a trend, then your account gets red flagged to be monitored or watched or something like that. I could kind of see, coming into play.
That's
because
right.
Sometimes people will make an order and change their mind or whatever.
Yeah. And because they would use identities of different drivers, right? It was never attached to the same person over and over again. They would use, so the overall activity, right? It's only when you step back and you take a look at the activity over a period of time, right? And then all of a sudden you see like, okay, well, something is going on. So let's backtrack to see where it leads us, right? So do you think this was an internal heads up, or what do you think? Like, how do you think this was uncovered?
So a couple things. Not Google. Good God. Uber actually has an internal like financial crimes investigation unit, or I forgot what the exact title is for the department. And I was reading one article where one of the a person who works in that unit said something like, we work hard to try and catch crimes like this. So I'm not 100% certain how they caught it, because they wouldn't say, which kind of makes sense because you don't want people to know how you caught it. However, we have a very, very astute audience. Well, just a little CVS declared bankruptcy too. Stephanie, thank you. Wait a minute, I think this one was Stephanie too. But someone said, I wonder what the time limit is to cancel an order versus how fast the credit shows up. Now, I
Mhm.
think that's a good question, but I think it would have to show up fairly quickly because people, we're anxious and we're waiting on our goods to be delivered. And the quicker the person can get started, then the quicker they can, get the order to us.
Hmm.
Could Uber use IP address validations as a means to avoid the customer/driver being the same person? That's a very good thought.
Would this kind of encroach into the personal kind of data situation or no?
It would, because a customer probably would not want their IP addresses exposed. I mean, I use a VPN everywhere I am, and so I can hop around from IP address to IP address. So yeah,
But
but
it might help on the driver's side though.
yes, especially for identifying multiple drivers or one driver with multiple driver accounts.
Yeah.
Now, forgive me if I say your name wrong.
Chicago.
Shikaladoa. I'll probably mess that up. I really want to know how to pronounce your name because I think names are important and I hate it when I mess people's names up. But she makes a very good point. Exactly. To be on top of your game, think like a criminal and constantly update your system. Yes.
100%.
And I like this comment too. So obviously, Uber was not matching cancellations to refunds of cash advance. And again, they did not have a way of monitoring heightened or surging cancellations tied to a particular employee. Now, to me, this one was a big one because he had multiple driver accounts, but I'm imagining he had several cancellations based on each of those accounts. I'm sure it wasn't a one and done. So that could have been a red flag. Now, someone else says could have flagged the driver's account, stopped it. Once there were so many cancellations, they couldn't take any more orders. Yeah. Thank you. Call you Audrey. Yes. I see that now. It's hard to run the show and be on it and then also managing comments. It's taught me how to really, truly, truly multitask. That's for certain. And then Bob says the credit would be pending and if canceled, have given amount of time before it fell off, 24 hours or something like that. Yeah. Yeah. So what do you guys think?
I think this was probably not the only scheme that they were doing. I think this was the scheme that they probably tried several, and this is the one that sort of they landed on, just to see what they can get away with. And listen, for a year and a half, $1 million, that's good. That's good
Yeah. And that
outcome.
was probably like you're saying, that was probably their side hustle or their second job. So, so if you can make $1.5 million working part-time.
But I'm looking at it from like Walgreens perspective to see, is there anything that Walgreens could have done other than not taking the prepaid cards? But I mean, the fact that they went to 27 different Walgreens in one day to do this scam, I don't think there was much else other than not accepting prepaid cards that Walgreens could have done to help, identify this. That shows that they knew you need to bounce around. You need to be very random with what you're doing.
Now, Carol says maybe match vehicles and driver information to find the same vehicle with multiple drivers. You know what? Here's the one thing that I would say. This is the perfect place for artificial intelligence. Now, just follow me here. Facial recognition. He used his picture. And some people, I was reading some comments in some of the news articles, and they were saying how stupid it was of him to use his picture. But Uber will often show the picture of the driver so that the person knows who's coming. So his only other choice would have been to go to something like Midjourney and create a fake person or use his own picture. And so he used his own picture on the multiple fake accounts. And if they were using facial recognition, they would have snuffed that out very quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how much and how much that would cost them to implement to really make it worth it. But yeah, that's definitely definitely a viable solution.
Yeah, I mean, it is an extremely viable solution, but the only bad part about that is, like I said, he could have created a fake person very quickly. I'll show you ones that I've created. You guys know I use AI a lot. This is not a real person. 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 This is not a real person.
Now, I actually saw just recently there was some like Instagram model or something like that that's making a lot of money, and she
Yes.
doesn't exist.
Yeah.
They do not exist. So, as I said, to me, auditors should be learning everything that's out there because our companies will be using some of these things and will become a victim of some of these things. So for me, you will see these fake people in many of my online training courses because I don't want everybody to have to look at me all the time. I wouldn't want to torture anybody by having to look at me all the time.
Yeah.
Right. So, but yes, Heather, they do look real. Now, Bob says, I bet they figured it out by accident. Yeah.
But it's impressive, wasn't it? Was it the local sheriff's department or because there was investigators involved in helping to track this down? It looks like it was just local sheriffs. That's impressive. That they probably accidentally came across it, but they really did a full investigation here. Apparently they followed them to the 27 different stores. So they were really trying to track this and understand how bad this was. So I give props that they recognize there's an issue and they didn't just immediately jump in there. They tried to take their time, it looks like, with this investigation.
Yeah. Well, it's to your point, whenever I worked, in my investigations in the past, when you get to that amount, right? I mean, like the amount is pretty significant in a short amount of time. And it's like one or two people only, right? It's not even a collusion, so to speak, right? It's just two employees that did that. So to make their case even more solid, they wanted to catch them in the act.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They even have surveillance video of them at the drugstores purchasing the gift cards. Let's see if I can pull that up as well. Let's see here. Oh, darn. Something just happened. Oh, there we go. That's going to be too small to see. Let's see if I can make it bigger here. And minimize that. So there they are at the register purchasing the gift cards. And this was on January 24th. By the way, the fraud started, they're estimating around January of 2022.
Yeah. So if you average this out, you're averaging about $1,800 a day. That's a good paycheck right there. $1,800 a day. I mean, this is like very basic numbers, averaging out. But on that day when they were trailing them, 27 stores, 5,000, that's under $200. So, maybe there's some kind of control, under $200 or something. I don't know.
Well, the fact that, what was it you said at the beginning, Rob, that the prepaids were $500 to $700. So that tells us they did roughly 3 of these transactions a day is what they did.
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah, I'm with you, Audrey. I think data analytics probably had something to do with it. Heather said maybe if they changed their shirt a few times, it would not have been noticeable.
They should have just worn their masks. I mean, oh God. The COVID masks.
Don't bring those up.
And you show the...
Don't bring those up.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, if you want to, they would not have been caught as quickly.
So one of them is actually in jail with a $50,000 bond. And then another one has been released from jail after posting a $50,000 bond.
So one spend the money and the other one
Yeah, I guess that makes that sounds about right.
I could see him at the bond place though. Do you take Amazon gift cards as payment?
All right, so there are guys right there. And I think they were saying that the one on the left is 21 years old. No, man, no. No. Oh, somebody said it here. Did the other one use a gift card? Oh goodness. I just like what do you say with this?
What is it that they call them? They call them Uber cheats.
Uber cheats.
Oh, I bet the sheriff was super pleased about his creative.
And somebody asked about
whenever you talk. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, whenever you talk about internal controls, right? Whether it's a public company, private company, whatever, even if they could say, look, we have almost no budget, we just want the very basic, what would you recommend? The number one response from anybody is cash. Have controls around the cash coming in and the cash going out. They had large amounts of cash. I mean, if these guys took $1 million in 20 months, how many millions of dollars are they handing out in prepaid gift cards to their drivers on a daily basis? So, I mean, that's the first thing. That's the huge red flag in my mind is no matter what company you're at, you've got to protect your cash coming in or going out and have controls over that right there. I can't believe they were allowing these funds to go out and nobody was monitoring, nobody was tracing. That seems like internal controls 101 to me.
Yeah, it usually comes down to materiality threshold. It's like so bizarre, but because the Uber is so big, chances are that their materiality threshold is like they're not even going to look at any transactions hypothetically under $5,000. Maybe in one day, maybe in 2 days, however, but that might not even register, right? But then it comes back to educating the management, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's easier for you to auto approve, let's say 5,000 and anything under 5,000, it's easier for you to auto approve. But then the volume of what's happening under 5,000 is going to get you.
Now, speaking of internal controls, if you're listening to this and you need very good resources to help co-source, outsource internal auditing or Sarbanes-Oxley testing, I think someone here can help you with that. Thomas, what's the name of your company?
Revision Management Consulting, or better known as RVMC. Absolutely. We can help with that. And I mentioned a little bit about risk assessment and such. If you go to my LinkedIn profile, I even have a free risk assessment tool that you can download to do kind of an assessment of your own company to be able to help identify where you need to add controls.
Now, here's the thing. You could call up one of those big four accounting firms and be charged out the wazoo for staff level workers. Thomas, the consultants at your firm have an average of how many years experience?
They average 15 to 20 years of experience, which is actually more experience than I even have personally.
So very seasoned personnel that can hit the ground running right out of the gate.
That's exactly right. If you called us today, they could walk in Monday and be testing by lunchtime on Monday and actually know what they're looking at, know what they're doing. You might even know a few people that have been on this show before that do some of the testing for me. It's quality work and great people too.
Great people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, the other thing that I want to mention to you all while I have you here, if you are ready for the internal audit training event of the year, especially if you are in the Dallas area. Be prepared for the Dallas Super Conference. It happens every year. This year, it is on October the 20th, but this year, the keynote speaker is someone that you know and love, or maybe just someone that you know, maybe not love. But this year, the title of my keynote speech is Activate Your Auditing Awesomeness. And what we're going to talk about is how to make auditors awesome. So that is October the 20th. You can go to DallasIIA.org to grab your ticket.
And let me interrupt on that one for a moment here. I've heard Robert speak, and he is phenomenal. What you get on this show, you get that and even better because he's not having to manage all the buttons and gizmos whenever he's speaking live. So if you can make it to the Dallas conference, get there and experience his stuff because he does a phenomenal job. I hate going to conferences, but I really enjoyed listening to him at the Friday or at the fraud retreat back in August. So definitely make it out.
You're not going to fall asleep. That's what it is, right? You're not going to fall asleep. You're going to be learning lots of information. So now that you've introduced Thomas and you introduced yourself, can I introduce me?
Nope. We're done, right?
Not today, no.
I mean, sometimes you just have to like step in and say, do
it.
Hello. No, so, okay. So going back to what I do in my consultancy, just kind of, a little bit of a commercial break, so to speak. If you guys need cybersecurity assessments, we would come in and do a free cybersecurity assessment. We will look at 10 points around your network, around your perimeter, to see how easy it is to hack you, to see how where your major vulnerabilities are, how often you guys, your IT people are patching your devices and software, penetration testing, internal, external, SOC assessments. So all of that around cybersecurity. Give me a call, DM me. Fraud investigations, prevention, risk assessment, and also, SOX compliance testing.
Oh, but let me take this a step further now, because Galena, she's underselling herself. Because if you're a large company and you need cyber services, call Galena. However, this is what I want people to understand. If you're a small to medium-sized company, you need to call Galena not just for the assessment, but outsource your cybersecurity. Galena and her team, they charge you by endpoint. By endpoint, we mean device.
Yes, that's right, device.
So every company can afford cyber services when you think about the cost of not having it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're doing it based on the number of endpoints that you have for your organization, you will be surprised how affordable it actually is. Because I can tell you the cost of just one cyber person is going to run you in the six figures. Galena has a whole team behind her. So let's not. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, Galena. I think it's a very important topic. So look, you guys know how I'm always learning, figuring out auditing and stuff. I'm about 90% done with the Google cybersecurity certification, and it was very hands-on. And so as I'm learning, wow, this is very serious. However, the controls you need in place aren't necessarily that difficult if you have the right personnel and the right technology in place.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So just, kind of like on that note, if we have a few more minutes. So usually our average response time to your issue is 10 to 15 minutes, 24/7. When companies do get breached, it takes at least 3 to 4 weeks to go back online. And that depends on how well your backups, how well you ran your backups, whether it was weekly, monthly. We do recommend to keep a 1 year worth of backups, just so that, when criminals get in, they rarely strike right off the bat. When they get in, they usually just sit around and they monitor what you're doing. They're looking at the activity, they're looking at the vendors, looking what they can get away with. They're looking to see who they hacked, right? And so having that 1 year worth of backups is we will be able to see when exactly they got in. And so that in return will help you with your cybersecurity insurance. You should have one. It's not very expensive, although it is going up a little bit. But if you have any of this information, if you need any of this information or any additional details, just give me a call.
Yeah, and on that note, while we're here, I just want to show you how serious of a subject this really is. Check this out. Lincoln College closure is just another ransomware milestone. The predominantly black college in Illinois announced that they were closing their doors as a result of COVID-19 and cyber attack disruption. Who is next? Who is next?
Well, not just that, but the SEC is starting to require disclosures on the what is it, the 8K, I think, and the 10K.
Yes.
So it's something that you can't just bury your head in the sand and hope that nothing happens. This is now something you have to disclose and have active plans for. So calling someone like Galina to help out and to really be able to answer some of those questions of what did you do, how did you prevent it, what happened.
Absolutely.
They're going to be held liable now.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of that, that just passed, I think, a few weeks ago. And so you're going to be required to report certain things. And when I read it, you're going to have to talk about risk assessments, how you actually assess risk in your organization from a cyber standpoint. So you definitely need some specialists who understand governance, risk control, and cyber all in one.
All of it. Yep.
Absolutely.
Well, people, thank you for joining blah blah blah. Tony, I almost made it through an entire episode without getting tongue-tied. Thank you for joining us for episode number 114. Now, if you like this podcast, this show, wherever you're watching us, tell all of your friends. Go to Apple, give us a 5-star review, and don't forget to check out my number 1 rated audit podcast, Audit Bites. It's just me talking about auditing. Next week on Tuesday at 11:15 Central Standard Time, the topic that we're talking about is, are auditors imposters? So we're going to talk about the imposter syndrome that many of us face. I think that's next week. Ooh, I hope I didn't say that wrong. I think that's next week. Goodness. So if you have any questions about that, go to my LinkedIn profile and you can see all the events there. We've got that scheduled out until mid to late October. Several good episodes coming up. So that's Audit Bites, by the way, if you really like that one too. Go over to the Apple Play Store, give us a 5-star review. Go to auditbites.com for that one. Go to fridayfraudster.com for this one. Thomas, Galina, anything else?
Ladies first.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. It's always a pleasure, and you have the best audience, which speaks volumes about you. So thank you.
Aren't they great?
Fantastic. Thank you for all of the interactions today. It always makes this easier and just a more pleasant experience. So yeah, definitely thanks to the audience. And thank you, Rob, for having us on again. It's always a good time.
All right. See you all next week.
Right.